So first of all, welcome, and thank you for spending the time with us this morning. We're really excited to be hosting this roundtable. Not such a roundtable, but appreciate the time. Turned out we got an overwhelming response, so we had to turn the round into a little bit different setting. So appreciate the time that you have with us. We're very excited about the show. I'm joined here by some esteemed panelists that I'll introduce to you, and then we'll get started. On my left, I have Bill Ingram, who is Executive Vice President of Strategy from Cricket Communications. On my right, I have Cam Kernahan from Vice President, Shaw Communications, and Shailesh Shukla, Vice President General Manager of the Cisco Software and Applications Group. We'll talk about what Shailesh does more, and I'll let each of these folks talk a lot more about what they do. We published the latest V&I data a few weeks ago, and there's 3 data points that continue to drive what's going on in the industry. The first one is the data deluge. We're starting to see continued growth in the data traffic, 13x increase in mobile data traffic from 2012 to 2017 of 60% growth. Mobile data will be 134 exabytes, which is by 2017, and average global mobile speed will increase by 7x by 2017. Tremendous data that's coming out there. Second thing is devices. Mobile devices will outnumber humans in 2013, and by 2017 we'll have 1.4 mobile devices per capita. There'll be 10 billion mobile devices, mobile connected devices by 2017, including machine-to-machine devices as well. And the most important thing is continued increase in Wi-Fi capabilities and solid number of Wi-Fi access points deployed in that period as well. So not just cellular, but also Wi-Fi becoming an increasing part of this area. So what do we hear from operators, and 2 of them right here on the table with us, is pretty simple and straightforward, which is how do you capitalize on this enormous opportunity where there's operators can create these connected mobile experiences. And these connected mobile experiences that leverage intelligence in the network that's extracted from the network with an elastic architecture that can be combined to monetize new services and optimize and create differentiated experiences. So when we speak to operators like the 2 here, we really hear about 3 different topics. One is coverage and capacity. How do we get coverage and capacity rolled out in the most cost-effective way? Second one is how do we create a differentiated experience which is optimized for our users so that we can lower churn. And the third part is how do we monetize? How do we actually turn that around and make money? And those are 3 key themes that we're going to talk about today. Leading up to the show and at the show, we've made some announcements, and you've seen some of those. One of those is in the coverage and capacity area with our small cell portfolio. Additions of licensed radio into our Wi-Fi access points. We've also announced a new cell site router, a ruggedized cell site router. In the area of differentiated experience, we've continued to kind of build out the packet core from the cellular side, but doing more and more integration between the cellular as well as the Wi-Fi world to really provide a differentiated, unique experience for using unified policy, et cetera, and so on. And the last part around monetization and optimization, this is where the quantum portfolio comes in. I'm going to leave that to Shailesh to talk about as he goes through things.
So I'll talk about Cisco Quantum. I think it's of course very important to talk about it in the context of what Bill talked about, what Cam talked about. And the way I look at it, it's fundamentally all about economics. Right? What has happened is, especially in the last few years, the nature of demand has shifted dramatically. Right? The V&I index and the 13x data growth, but also it's always on. Right? We are always on the internet one way or the other, using our mobile devices. We are also much more indoor. Right? We use our devices indoor quite a bit, and hence, for example, the Wi-Fi. At the same time, the patterns of traffic have become much more unpredictable. Okay? So usage is increased, patterns of traffic are unpredictable, it's much more indoor, and all of that is resulted in a completely different type of demand. On the other side, from a supply side, from an operator side, the way in which you connect into the network has kind of diversified quite a bit from a simple 3G, 4G type macro cell environment. In order to drive coverage and capacity, you now have small cells, you now have Wi-Fi, right? I mean, all of these put together, the network has become what we call as heterogeneous network, right? And that heterogeneous network, in order to be managed optimally, needs to have some level of what I would call as an intelligent software layer. So when you take the changes in demand, the changes in supply, the ultimate sort of conclusion here is that if operators have to do what Bill is talking about with music and monetization, or what Cam is talking about in terms of churn reduction and optimization and resulting monetization opportunities, what you really need to do is actually provide operators a complete solution and an architecture. And that architecture, Kelly, is the fundamental basis for what Cisco has done over the last 18 months, but certainly in the last several months, where we have been busy building out our portfolio to create and deliver a complete suite of technologies and products that can allow both monetization and optimization. And we have branded it Cisco Quantum. Okay? So you will ask, why Cisco Quantum? What does it do? And what are the key elements? So let me give you a quick view of that. What we did was, we said there's no point in trying to build siloed, separate solutions. Right? So we decided that the approach that we'll take is to extract out intelligence from the network using relatively generic technologies. Okay? Whether it's the Wi-Fi controller, whether it's the packet core in the mobile network, whether it is the router or the IP/MPLS device, or whether it's the small cell, or whether it's the backhaul. Let's figure out a way to extract out rich information from the network around usage, device type, the available bandwidth, congestion in the network, and so on. And let's take all of that data and hand it to an analytics engine. Right? There's been a lot of advances over the last few years in big data technologies. So it's possible to analyze large amounts of data, correlate it, and draw insights from it. Then you hand it over to a policy system to go program the network, to do what you want it to do. And think about this as a closed loop. Kind of think of it as a triangle: network, analytics, and policy in a closed loop, feeding each other and doing that in real time, doing thousands of transactions per second, and doing that in a way that actually leverages some of the information that is very rich, that exists only in the network, right? What we call as data in motion, okay, as opposed to data at rest. Because there are certain things, historical analysis, which only lives in the databases that operators have, but the thing that is happening in the network in real time is data in motion. So this particular closed loop, what we have done is we have automated it, we have made it in real time, and we are delivering it now for several pieces of the network. So let me describe what those are, and that exactly is our portfolio. Okay. So what we have done is Cisco Quantum has 5 major software suites. I'll talk about each one of them, and in the end I'm going to ask Rani to talk about one of the key elements. Okay? So the first element is you need technology to abstract out the network information. So that's our network abstraction suite that's available today on several platforms at Cisco. Second is, once you've abstracted this information, you need to analyze it using big data analytics techniques. So for that, we have put together the Cisco Quantum Analytics Suite. And this is composed of a number of different elements, some which are organically built within Cisco, and some which have come through acquisitions, such as the ThinkSmart acquisition that we did, what it was last year, Kelly, that gave us location-based Wi-Fi information, which, if I'm not mistaken, Ken, you're using some of that data, right? And then the third piece is, you have the data now, you need to set the policy in the network. And the world of policy is changing very quickly to where instead of 10 to 15,000 transactions per second, you need to now do 250,000 transactions per second. And do that on a, to support a 50 to 100 to 150 million subscriber network. So that is what we call as the Cisco Quantum Policy Suite. And that has come to us through the Broadhop acquisition that we announced a couple of months ago now, based in Denver. Very, very excited about that, and it's coming together very well across Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G, and across the wireline. Okay? Then the fourth and the fifth are the elements that what I would call is, okay, so you've got all the data, you've analyzed it, you know how to set the policy, how are you going to actually drive this closed loop in both wireline and mobile networks? So to do that for the wireline IP/MPLS networks, we made the acquisition called Caritan. I think many of you are aware of them. They have 60 plus tier 1 deployments around the world, and they are used to manage the traffic across a IP/MPLS network. Okay? And then the last piece of the puzzle for us was, mobile infrastructure is a $50 billion infrastructure investment in radio every year. That world is changing quickly, right? As I described, it's becoming more heterogeneous networks with small cells and Wi-Fi and macro cells, which are 3G and 4G. How do you optimize around that? And that technology is the SON technology that for mobile, for which we have very recently, in fact 2 days ago, Rani has joined our team, CEO of Intucell. So we acquired Intucell, and we are very excited about it. And what I'd like to do is have Rani talk a little bit about what Intucell does and why it's relevant in the new world. But if you put it all together, we are not done here yet, right? The 5 elements of this Cisco Quantum software suite enable you to drive the monetization and optimization. And it's a pretty complex process. What Bill said about music and what Cam said about Wi-Fi, it takes a lot of back-end processing, a lot of real-time data analytics, linking together ad agencies and ad exchanges with OSS and BSS with the network. All of that is now possible through this Cisco Quantum architecture.